Hi. It's time to see the lost tapes from our very first gig in Vilnius. It was especially special occasion for us, and I think that was my maybe fifth, if not like fourth gig overall ever being on the stage in my life. And I happened to be with so many people there playing this kind of music, which was to me in its own a whole bag of mysteries. It was some surreal time, and so maybe we should just dive in. I think I should talk more about the theory of everything, the album itself, and why is it so important, and how it came about, and what it did to me. It's something that I feel like I haven't paid enough dues. So talking about it, I called it the theory of everything because since I was very little, I was always fascinated with physics. And to such an extent that I would go to summer camps for physicists and did like university degree physics while I was at school. And you know, the mysteries of the universe were always in my mind. I always wondered how this world works. What's the origin of phenomena and what's the meaning and all that. I guess it's just, you know, anyway, part of the inquisitive mind. It always fascinated me that we never had like a theory that would combine quantum and mechanic physics, and which basically Stephen Hawking was into, you know, like looking for that one uniting theory, which would be the theory of everything. And I'll talk about how I wrote it, but I found that when I was writing it, certainly while I was writing it, and then when I was listening to it, and the things that it did to me, it did create some sort of a unbelievable union and sense to me in relation to where I am in this world and what the world is to me and what's our, you know, dynamic. And that's why I thought that maybe it's not my thesis in physics, but it's my thesis in an energetic field through music production, which is essentially lots of frequencies intertwining and creating this one powerful thing. The theory of everything, it definitely helps you as a person to situate yourself, to center yourself, to basically get more attuned to receive whatever you're seeking, you know, and yeah, you become less of a just like a plastic bag blown in the wind, but you kind of like start a dialogue with whatever is there. And it's an unbelievable feeling because the way I wrote it, and I mean, it was me and Kipras, we wrote that, and the way it was written, it came from the purest place ever. And there wasn't a totally clear intention to write the whole thing in a single day, but then it happened. So basically the circumstances were like this, that I until then I was always releasing singles and music videos, which I really encourage you to check out because every single music video is in its own short movie, and everything I do, I just really try to like blow in it as much essence as possible. And I hope you'll get to see that. Maybe not, I don't know. We'll see. But so it was the same thing here, you know, with the theory of everything. The way we started writing it, I wasn't expecting to write an album, although I was kind of like pushed by life, but in the nicest way possible, because I was given the grant to write an album. I was like, and I didn't even apply for it, but I learned later on when we got the results that apparently my friend applied for me, and so I got a grant for an album, and I was like, oh my god, so that means now I will have to write an album. Because until then I was just like, how it is, and I was like, okay, you know what, I gotta do this, and I wasn't freaking out, and I was just like, I knew that this is gonna happen. It was just like, there was some like incredible solidity inside of me, strong, thick tree trunk inside of me. That's the only way I could describe it. Basically, the very place where we wrote it, and it was in the countryside, and it was basically this wooden shed without any walls. So 360, you would just see like fields. God knows, like in a month or so, I was in the exact same shed, just losing my mind fully, just like melting the F out and just creating this insane music, which like I wasn't even playing myself. I wasn't even singing it. It was genuinely the happiest day of my life. I have no doubts about that, and I'm so happy that I got to live one. You know, of course, like I will have wonderful memories and experiences to come, but this was, I just can't explain it to you. It was just next level. Yeah, so we then brought in all of the instruments we own into this shed, and we dedicated. What it happened that we spent 16 hours non-stop playing music. In like I would eat watermelon on the table because it was the middle of the summer. So I think it was June or something like that. And I would just eat watermelon and we just keep going. So I imagine some of the creatives might be interested in how to write an album or something. So one of the things was that we prepared before that some of the maybe chord progressions that we liked, or we had like some ideas about like what, I don't know, emotions we would like to convey, and then we had some of the beats ready. But then once we got into that state of creating, all of these preparations proved to be useful, but only to some extent, because what I found is that a lot of things that I chose before as like, let's say, a beat, later on when I was in the state of this unbelievable flow, I would be like immediately either crying or just asking to stop playing it, or like I would immediately, in seconds, I would have like some sort of a visceral reaction to whatever the energy was transmitted through the beat or the chord progression. So I figured that like, yeah, there's like I got in tune so much with that ether. I could literally feel its texture, and it kind of like, it laid on me so nice that I even forgot who I am. It kind of like melted in together. So that's why like when I would hear some sort of sounds, and I could say if they are resonating with the state that I'm in or not. And that's why I believe that like everything that we've written was basically totally compliant with that resonance that I experienced at the time. And mind you that it was the best day of my life. So I really hope that like the same kind of like a nice, beautiful, happy, kind of like fulfilled togetherness spell could be passed upon to others that are listening to the album. So that was an incredibly fascinating thing. And later on I was obsessed with the sun, so I was chasing the sun through the fields, and it is that in second verse of Rise, it says, one of those days you wish it never end, you'd hope the sky would wait a little longer, and then it does. And the funny thing is that since I was so obsessed with the sun, I really didn't want it to go down. It kind of went down the horizon, and then it was never like really going down. So it was always kind of like, pinkish and orange. And I was like, what the hell? It's like the time has stopped. And like at 4 a.m., the sun was already coming back up, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And then we Googled that, and then we figured that apparently it was summer solstice. Another thing to me, I was just like, holy shit, how much of this can add up? What's happening? This was written in all of these energies. And then, when we finally recorded it all in the studio and we had all the lyrics and everything, then we took a trip to Greece. And in Greece, we went through the whole recordings and we checked once again if the vibe is confirmed. And all the songs passed. So it's truly, whatever you call it, certified album. And I would love for as many people to hear it, because it's definitely something that will clean and help you to find the balance. I do that. It's like medicine to me, Like whenever I feel a little wobbly, I just go through it. I'm like, okay, that's the attunement, If you can't jump into the ocean, just listen to the album. That's my theory. So I just covered the theory of everything. Now let's go to the gig. I feel like this theory of everything taught me so much about everything. It's like a whole another degree that I gained, basically. Togetherness was one more lesson that I learned from the album, and I figured that we need to have as many musicians as possible on the stage, because that would be more of an appropriate representation of what live actually is, how it's actually vibrant, and how every single instrument, every single person playing that instrument will add their own color and create this like just a beautiful event in life. And that's what all I cared about for the introduction of the album. I just wanted to everyone have the best time ever. So blessed when I have these unbelievable people. I'm in awe all the time. Just like looking at them, you're already watching like the miracle of life, basically. And then, you know, I'm just like, I can go there and be like, yo guys, I'm gonna sing a song. Add a little to that whole beauty already. For me, that was the key, I think, driver of this whole gig. I wanted to show the album in its whole beauty, and its all beauty is when a lot of people tune in into that frequency and deliver their gifts, their talents to kind of like animate it. The only big issue is that it's very expensive. It's very expensive to, you know, have so many talented people on the stage at one time. Maybe one day all of my dreams will come true and I will be able to, you know, do these gigs all the time. But it is a little bit different. And, you know, it's just everyone, wants to minimize all the expenses. That means me being on my computer. Being on my computer and playing. Music feels like now a little. But fuck it, we'll fix it. Answer some of the questions. Received a few questions from you guys. How did you find your voice and vibe? How did I find my voice? Okay, how did I find my voice? How did I find my voice? Okay, so I don't think I found my voice. I just speak. And whatever comes out, it is my voice. If I feel that whatever I'm saying is coming from like a real place, not someone that is trying to be liked or be judged or be inflammatory, whatever. Now a lot of people act and there's their key motivation in the way they portray themselves. So put that aside. If it comes just from you, natural, but like from you, and then as long as you speak it, that is your voice. You don't have to find yourself a box to step in and be like, oh, you know what, this box is like 80% of what I am. So then what, you like 20% of you will be neglected? I don't think so. I think that's like a old way of looking at it. And also I think that we always can change our voice, you know, like seasons change, why can't we, you know? Same comes to our voices. So I'm always, the only true voice in me is probably the truth at the time. That's my voice. Everything else is just a medium for play. More question. What goes through your head when you step on the stage? Really depends on whether that is a gig, like a live performance, and if it's my gig or if it's a TV performance. Because TV performances are much more, I find them to be more clinical, and it's almost like you're stepping into a recording booth, and it's not exactly like a real performance. Because I find that with real performance, there's so many things vibration-wise that cameras can't capture. So that's why live performances are just like a supreme form of experience in terms of music. But obviously not always, like it always depends. Through my head, I think it is, keep in mind that this performance that I did was probably like the 5th gig that I did in my entire life and going on the stage, okay? So being in front of people, I would always be scared. And like I even have this very famous thing, well, not famous, but like famous in my family situation when I was in kindergarten and we were practicing for, I don't know, a whole 2-3 weeks, like this performance where me and other girls or something were supposed to perform at one of the celebrations on the stage. And it's all good, we're going through all the rehearsals and everything. And then at the time of the actual gig, I remember I'm on the stage, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on stage. And I realized this. And I was just like freaked out so bad that what I did, I just walked off the stage quietly, just like in the middle of the gig, and went to the loo. Yeah. And I was on the loo when my mom found me. That's how it was, you know? So I don't think I was born without this fear. But I think through life, I did certain things that would kind of like prepare me for this. And only now, looking back, I realized that what I was doing, it was actually doing exactly this, like prepare me for that first step. So the first things would be like, I remember when I would be in Tenerife for like a month or so, every single day diligently, I'm very like a disciplined person. So every single day I would go to the ocean and I would swim in it. But it's winter, so it's like, you know, like what is it, 15, 16 degrees. It's not very hot, warm. You know? So that's the first thing in the morning and you're swimming through it. And I would obviously like, you know, dive and like go far out. And it was... I remember how my body didn't like it at the beginning, and it was just like kind of like paralyzing a little. But then I got used to it, and I remember the first step when you're about to jump, you're like, "Fuck, why am I doing this?" You know. But you do this, and it's okay, and it's not very comfortable, but you stay in there. It gets better, and get out, and you feel like it's amazing. I find like it goes parallel with a lot of other things. Then another thing was we're in Greece. I decided just out of nowhere, something just hit me in the head and be like, Aista, now every single time you see a cliff, you're gonna jump off it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? And I was just like, okay, I guess I'll do it. And so since we were driving around, what is this, Zakynthos, it was Zakynthos Island, and it's not very big, so you can drive it the whole thing through a day, but like we would stop at each beach, and at each beach I would find a cliff and jump off it. So and when it was the very last beach, it had this insane cliff. It was like 8 of me or even more, I don't know, but it was just ridiculously big. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And I really didn't understand it. It was so weird to me. And I remember I'm standing there, I'm looking at this, and dude, this looks like a freaking house, like a skyscraper kind of thing. I jump off it. Inside of me, there is something that says, Aista, get your freaking clothes off. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm taking it off. And I think there is somewhere footage of me literally whining, kind of crying, being like, oh, I don't wanna, you know, but I'm still taking them off. I'm taking it all off. And I walk in there and I know that like the choice has been made already. Just like you can, you know, be okay with that or not. It's already gonna happen. So I understood that I like made the choice somehow already, but there was like some whiny part of me that was just like, fuck it, no. And I would just jump, and I jumped, and I think after that I jumped like 2 more times off that same cliff. Like obviously the cold showers in the mornings and stuff. So I think all of these things are very similar to what it is like before going on the stage, you know? It's like, why would you do this? Do you wanna? Is it comfortable? Obviously, this like, it probably, like if you look from a rational side, it makes no sense. But then there's something inside of me, at least, that got me prepared to be like, yo, doesn't matter how cold it is, doesn't matter how high it is, you freaking go, you know? And I just like feel like a fish in the water. It's unbelievable. And of course, at first you were like a little bit shocked, but once you're there, you're like, whoa, this is so awesome, I freaking love this. And then you just like hear these sounds that are like coming from all directions, and there's such beautiful music. You were like, holy shit, did we write that? You know, it always feels so weird. And then like, no, and then I start singing, and I'm like, whoa, is that her? Like, who is she? Very out of body experience, I guess. A lot of people say this. You kind of dissociate. It's the only way to do it, I guess. I don't know. I don't have the exact answer so far. And while I was saying a lot of these things, I've already answered quite a few of your questions. So I will just probably say something else, like have people working for me to edit my content and this really difficult and time-taxing work. And I hope you will just get to enjoy, see from a side how it was to live through the energy and just to, I don't know, appreciate for the way it is, you know, like without some fast edits and crazy zooms and all of that. And so thank you for being here, and I love you so much. And you can also become part of the theory of everything, and you can go down on the description. In the description, you can find where you can buy the album yourself. There are some signed versions, and talk to you soon.